many people in America fear their government, and the government is being run by too many powerful agencies like the IRS and others. I think it's time the people take the country back through their representative government.
Living on that hill, living in that lap of luxury on we the people's bill. Don't have a clue how the other half lives, and that is a shame. It's time to stop the tyranny. You keep pushing through your bills, going for revolution. Save our Constitution while we still got the guns in our hands.
Hi, welcome to Freedom TV. I'm Renee Kimball, your host, and we're going to have a very interesting program for you today. We're going to be talking about cob building and earthen bag building. This is an ancient technique, but it's been revived in recent years, and it's really an incredible way of building things. So we're going to be talking about that later, but first we're going to talk a little bit about the Sovereign Soapbox. This is my opportunity to have a comment about something that means a great deal to me. So the Sovereign Soapbox this week is going to be on something called occupational licensing. These are all those wonderful tens of thousands of licenses that you get or have to get for just about everything you can possibly think of that you want to do, whether it's being a hairdresser or doing anything. If you want to have if you want to have anything done on your property, you have to have a license. If you want to do anything, if you want to be a lawyer, if you want to be anything, an accountant, you have to go and get a license for everything. And so one of the things that I'd like to look at, and you can come back to me and I'll just read some of these off for you. What are the major findings from the occupations you have studied? And this is from the Institute of Justice, and this is about some of the questions that they found out in their studies as to how effective is occupational licensing. So, occupational licensing has either no impact or even a negative impact on the quality of services provided to customers by members of the regulated occupation. Additionally, as occupations become licensed, members of regulated occupations see their earnings go up. Gee. Well, the problem is, and anyone who's been to a hairdresser in the last 30 years can verify this, that's no guarantee that you're not going to lose your hair or your house is not going to fall in. Because if anything does go wrong, guess who's responsible? You have to try and sue the person who did the problem, not the government agency that gave them the license that said they were okay. So there has been some movement across the United States to get a third party to qualify people in particular occupations, sort of like the UL. Everybody's seen the UL on electrical appliances, and that is a third party, a private organization that says these are cool things and these are doing the right thing by the consumer. So as far as I'm concerned, we can get rid of every license that we've got and we can go to a third party operation that will certify that this person in their occupation, whether it's with your hair or your house, is good and has done the job properly. So now we're going to go to our normal segment of Surviving and Thriving, and this time we're going to be talking about sprains and strains. I had to read this one because I kept messing it up. So we're going to be going to survival, first aid, with strains and sprains.
Strain occurs when the muscle tendon is stretched or torn. One of three things could have happened. The muscle tears itself, the muscle and tendon tear, or the tendon is ripped away from the bone. Sprain happens when ligaments surrounding the joint anchored to the bone stretch or tear. Imagine a ligament designed to move in one direction, but then is moved in the other direction for a repeated period of time, it'll stretch or break. Treatment of these injuries are easily remembered by the acronym RICE. R means rest the injured part. I stands for ice, apply to the area. This limits the amount of swelling and helps with spasms. Apply ice 20 to 40 minutes every 2 hours for the first 24 to 48 hours. If an ankle is sprained or strained, leave the boot on. You might not be able to get the boot back on later. C, compression. Compress the spot. This will help with swelling. Be careful not to wrap the injury too tight or cut off blood supply. E, elevate. Elevating of the injury. This allows gravity to help in blood flow and fluids drain downhill to the heart.
When dealing with an injury to the knee, whether a strain or a sprain, the treatment will be to wrap the knee. We take the elastic bandage from the first aid kit and we begin wrapping on the base of the knee and work our way up so you don't trap excess blood in the lower leg, causing more swelling. You overlap the first wrap, and then as you work your way up, you overlap about half of the bandage. Once you get up above the knee, you overlap one wrap the width of the bandage, and then you begin to work your way back down, once again overlapping about half of the bandage. Once you get to the end of the wrap, you can either use the clip that comes with the bandage, or you can use the gaffer's tape in the survival kit. And tape it off nice and tight. For the sprained ankle, take an elastic bandage from the first aid kit, be able to get underneath it, so you're going to raise the leg a little bit. And this is the only time that you don't start your roll on the lowest point of the appendage, because if you start it around the boot, it will not stay as well as it does around the ankle. So you do one roll around the ankle, and then you bring it under the bottom of the boot, and bring it up, and around the ankle, and then back around. Now, the reason we did not take the boot off is because you want to keep it on to help reduce the swelling. And you just keep wrapping it all the way around, across the top, because once again what you're doing is you're trying to create stability in the ankle joint so that it'll bend the correct direction. When you come to the end of the bandage, you can use the clips that come with it. If you don't have the clips, you can just as easily tape the end of it by pulling the end snug and pulling the tape tight.
Hi, welcome back to Freedom TV, and I'm here with Scott Howard from Earth in Hand, and we're going to be talking about earthen building.
That's right.
Oh, what a great title, Earthen Building. Now, I'm very curious, whatever made you think that this would be a good idea to get into this? I mean, really, it doesn't really sound like, when I grow up, I want to be an earthen builder.
Well, yeah, you don't hear about it every day.
No.
Maybe, but when I was in college, I was studying cultural anthropology. I was learning about cultures and how different people house themselves.
Oh, really?
And I thought it was great that, you know, some anthropologists help the people they study. And so I was really interested in social justice. And then I heard a presentation by Rob Bowman, a guy who runs an eco-village in Eugene, Oregon. And he was talking about how construction practices today are so wasteful, and it's one of the areas where we can very easily increase social justice in our society. So I really got excited about cob building, earthen building,
Right.
to reduce our embodied energy in the materials that we use in our houses.
Now, this is not something that is a recent development. This kind of building has been around since forever, hasn't it?
Since forever, yeah. You look at even non-human species.
Right.
You got the paper wasps and the termites, and
Yeah.
and
They've been building with stuff.
what they're doing is they're using the most locally available materials
Right.
in the most effective way to build their shelters. And so humans also do this.
Right.
And you see what's called vernacular architecture all over the world, with no building codes or
Right.
permits.
Now, how does this compare, what you're talking about, to building with adobe bricks? Is that incorporated in that, or is that different?
Yeah, a lot of people will get confused because there are a lot of different techniques, but really they're all the same.
Okay.
You come back to sand and clay, and oftentimes a fiber. In some cases, it's straw. And adobe bricks are the same as cob. It's just that you're taking this
Okay.
material and you're mixing it and turning it into a brick and letting it dry in the form of a brick.
Oh,
ahead
okay.
of time.
And then cob is just building it, making like the bench as you
Right.
go and forming it.
And so in
Okay,
the
I
case of
never
cob,
did
yeah,
understand
you
that.
would just mix it into a paste.
Oh, okay.
And then build with it directly without
Oh,
turning it
okay.
into a brick and letting it dry first.
Oh, okay.
But they're really the same material,
Really?
same
Now,
method.
is cob, I never heard of cob building. Of course, I've heard of adobe building. Everybody's heard of that. But is cob something that is sort of like an offshoot of this, or were people building cob buildings for a very long time?
Yeah, the word cob actually comes from Wales.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it goes way back. There are cob buildings still standing in Wales, still inhabited, that are maybe close to 1,000 years old.
Really?
And they've been using that technique for several thousand years at least. And the earliest known human settlements are built of a cob-like material,
Really?
sand and clay.
Now, is this something that requires a lot of maintenance? Because it looks like, gee, this is going to break down pretty quickly here.
That is probably the most common question I get, because everyone in Portland, Oregon, obviously is
Yeah, it's like, it
familiar
rains here.
with the rain, and the rain we had yesterday
Yeah,
even,
it's like,
which was really,
wash
really
away my house,
powerful.
let alone
Yeah.
that one.
So the trick is, actually in Wales it rains more than it does here, and it
Oh,
rains.
really?
It's a little bit more coastal in a lot of Wales. So the trick is, they build their houses with very thick walls.
Ah.
They often use lime wash on the outside that helps preserve the surface, and they also give their house a really good set of boots and a really good hat with big eaves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're
Excellent.
just protecting the walls from the
Good.
rain. Yeah.
Well, we've got some photographs that
Great.
you sent to me, and
Yes.
I'd like to go to those. And the first ones that we're going to talk about are some of the historical representations of cob buildings throughout the world, which are kind of really interesting.
That's a
little
good place
buildings
to
look
start.
at.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go to those.
Yeah.
And this one, I thought this one was pretty spectacular. This is incredible.
This building, I took this photograph actually,
Wow.
and this building is the mosque in a city called Koro in southern Mali. And I love these buildings because they really harken back to the beginning of Earth building, which was in a desert climate. And
Oh, right,
You
because
know,
you don't have a lot of trees in the desert.
there's no
Ah.
wood. Yeah, there's no wood there. So they
Okay.
have a lot of sand and clay on hand. And also you get the really harsh, cold nights and very hot days.
Oh, okay.
And one of the major advantages of building massive walls, as in this case, is that the mass of the wall actually holds an ambient temperature really well.
Oh, right.
So it prevents the inside of the building from heating up very hot or getting very cold
excellent.
during the
Like,
night.
like
Yeah.
being in a natural
It's
cave.
like a heat battery.
Right. Okay, and here are a couple more. What are the things on the left? Are those buildings or?
Yeah, what we're seeing on the left are some very old buildings in southern Italy, and they're called trulli. That's plural. And what you're seeing is actually an earthen dome covered with flat rocks that are shingled to create a conical roof.
Oh,
and
really?
then a nice lime mortar plaster cap at
Oh,
the
that's
very peak
incredible.
there. And these buildings are probably close to 1,000 years old, still inhabited. There are many large villages using this technique. And I love this technique because they're very efficient with their materials.
Right.
The dome shape
Not
is
a lot of waste. Not a
incredibly
lot of waste.
strong. the dome
Right.
shape lasts forever.
And
so.
quickly, the one on the right here, and then we'll go on to the
Yeah,
next
the one on the right is showing a man in Dogon country in Mali plastering the side of his granary.
Oh, okay.
with
It's a granary. Oh,
Yeah,
excellent.
and he's using a cow dung plaster. There. Yeah.
Okay. I don't think that would be too popular here. Now, these look like grain storage units or something, or are they houses?
What we're looking at is actually a UN refugee camp that was
really?
constructed not too long ago. And so this method is actually using the earth bag building technique that we'll get into soon.
okay. Excellent.
It's great for these emergency situations.
Right. Now, this one looks really old.
Now this really harkens back. This is actually the oldest standing earthen building in the world. I think it's over 3,000 years old.
Wow.
It's called the Ramesseum. It's in Egypt, and you're seeing an actual adobe brick vault there.
And that's over about 3,000 years old.
Over
That's
3,000 years old.
Incredible.
Here you're seeing the work of Hassan Fatih, a famous architect who wrote a book called Architecture for the Poor.
Huh.
And what he did was take that same technique that we saw in the previous slide, which comes from Egypt, and
Right.
a place called Nubia, where they use adobe bricks to create vaults.
Right.
Very, very effective technique, and he used that to house the poor en masse, making vaulted earthen structures.
Wow. That's incredible. And here we have some. Now, these are new.
Right. This is a building that I completed during a workshop, which I led in 2004 in southern Thailand. And you're seeing again the earth bag building technique, in this case covered with a cement plaster. And this dome that you see here is 23 feet tall.
Wow. It doesn't look that big. And these are some. Oh, these are pictures of some of that I got off your website of some of the places actually in Portland. I can't remember the name of this one. Oh, I forgot.
So actually, this is the first Cobb house that I worked on in a workshop with the Cobb Cottage Company.
Oh, okay.
And this building is over 1,000 square feet with a loft. And
Wow.
It's really large, probably the largest Cobb building in Oregon.
So you can, you're not restricted to 300 square feet. You can actually get pretty big with this stuff. Okay, and this is some other little.
These are some
the
projects
columns
that
on
I've
the
done
right.
in Portland. And from the left to the right, you're seeing interior of a bar that I did some sculpture for that was up on Alberta Street called Baraka. And then these other two photos are of some columns on a porch in Selwood.
Excellent.
Still standing.
Okay, and this looks like incorporating a wood roof with the building also?
Yeah, this is a meditation house that I built for a local preschool in
Wow.
Portland. And the roof is made with dug fir roundwood poles and reclaimed lumber from the Rebuilding Center. And on top we have a living roof, so there are actual plants and
Oh,
soil
okay.
on top of the roof.
Excellent.
And more shots of the same. And I
Oh,
just
okay.
love this bottle wall. It's kind of a small photo, but you can see there on the interior, we used bottles and jars nested together and created a really artistic wall where light comes through and colored light comes through into
So
the
you can
interior.
actually incorporate glass and things in the cob itself.
Yeah, one of the great things about Cobb is that you can bring in other objects
And just shove them in there.
put
and
them
make
right
it,
into the wall. It's a
Excellent.
great way to.
That's great. Okay, now this one's, the photo wasn't too good, but I love the benches. They were just so cool.
This really was one of my favorite projects, and this bench was built in 2004 on 12th and Division, and it was a beautiful community meeting area. Unfortunately, the business changed hands, and it was torn down, but
Oh.
I'm looking forward to building another one
Oh.
just like it sometime soon.
Oh, that's really sad. And here we have some participants. This looks like fun.
We like to start them young.
Yeah, get them young, get them in the mud. I
So
mean, what
just
kid
think.
doesn't like to be in mud? Come on,
Yeah.
you know, this is kind of a no-brainer.
They love it.
And then those are some other pictures. Oh, those are the ovens. I thought those were really cool.
Yeah, then, everyone's real familiar these days with the wood-fired oven. You can build one in your backyard for very inexpensive, and use wood to actually cook pizzas and bread.
Cool. And this is actually a floor. I thought it was a pool, but it's a floor. And this is an earthen floor.
Yeah, earthen floor, the same material. It's
Wow.
sand and clay and straw, and we finished it off with linseed oil.
Linseed oil.
Yeah.
Okay, so instead of like polyurethane, or the linseed oil will actually seal it.
Yeah, many coats of linseed oil topped off with a little bit of beeswax,
Oh,
and
okay.
you can even mop this floor, and it's
Really?
quite hard.
Oh, that's incredible. And of course, we have the kids getting back into it, and some artwork, which I thought was really interesting. So you
Yeah.
can actually incorporate like stained glass windows and all kinds of stuff into the construction of the house. And the thing I like is they all look like little hobbit houses, which I think is really cool. I have big feet, so people think I'm a hobbit. So I just kind of gravitate to this sort of dwelling. And I just thought the design you had on the left was just so cute, because it's this earthen house, and it's got looks like a veggie garden on the top of it.
Yeah, it's showing a living roof and really the beauty of, you know, handmade structure that's very small. And that drawing I did really is sort of a little cartoon to entice people and,
Yeah.
and yes,
You too
bring
can
them
have
in.
your own little dwelling. And then on the right is some of the construction of the earthen bag. And I think the next pictures, if we can go to the next pictures, that gives you a really good idea of. Now, what I can't figure out is with these bags, you've got the bags on top of each other, and then you put the stuff over the top of it. Isn't something going to move? Doesn't stuff kind of move in there a little bit?
Yeah, this takes a little bit of explaining, and this technique was actually developed a lot recently in the last 20 years, let's say, by a man named Nader Khalili
Oh, okay.
out of Cal Earth in Northern California. But the use of stacking sandbags goes all the way back to World War I, you know.
Right. Yeah. Well, on my street, it goes back about 2 years.
Yeah.
when we had, Johnson Creek running down the middle of my street.
But as a building technique, this is using actually barbed wire in between each course, and the bags are made of woven polyethylene that is a
Okay.
flexible form rammed earth. So you
Right.
fill the bags with sand and clay and a tiny bit of moisture, tamp it down, and you get
It's pretty solid.
very strong wall.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. And I think we've got one. This is an arch. That's amazing that you could do this with the bags and actually create a keystone arch.
Yeah, and you're seeing the box form there that will be removed later.
Right. And that is a structure that is solid and is not going to go anywhere. It's got the keystone.
It's completely solid.
Yeah, that's
yes.
amazing. And then the last one of, okay, why don't we build cities?
This is a great slide to show everyone because most people aren't aware that there are cities made entirely of sand and clay, a cob-like material. This is in Yemen, actually, and these buildings are 10 to 13 stories tall.
Oh my God.
And the city is growing.
And that's
they continue
incredible.
fixing and building,
And they can
it's
just keep
been there
going
for
up.
who knows how
Since
long.
forever.
Yeah, thousands
Yemen.
of years.
Yemen has been there for a long time. Okay, well, we've got just a few minutes before we're going to go and take a little bit of a break. But I wanted to ask you in particular about this kind of building. Going up that tall, what do they use as the infrastructure? Do they use steel, or is it wood, or how are they getting up? I mean, mud 12 floors up. I don't know.
Well, people are skeptical because they're used to seeing concrete and steel.
Right.
But the truth is, concrete and steel have such high embodied energy that we should really try to move away from that so we can
Right.
bring our society back to social justice and back to environmental justice, so we can
Right.
curb our resource use. And the way you actually build a structure, if you wanted to build a very tall earthen structure, would be to taper the walls so that the building would actually get a little bit smaller as it gets taller.
See, so that it has this
Right.
kind of force moving out.
Exactly.
And instead, you wouldn't be able to go up, say, like 60 stories maybe, but,
Right.
probably.
And why would we want to?
Well, yeah. As long as you have enough people.
I really try to promote people building small houses
Mm-hmm.
because then they realize they have time to beautify each corner of their house, and it gives them a chance to really interact with their own
Yeah.
house and
Fair enough. Well, we're going to come back and we're going to talk a little bit more about earth and building. But right now we're going to be going to a segment of someone who was on the show before, Judith Golden, who is, she's in Southeast Asia now, in Cambodia, and she used to take tours to Southeast Asia, but these were not your normal tours. And this particular tour that she went on was right after the tsunami. And she took a bunch of people over, and on a whim, she packed the suitcases full of Valentine's Day cards because she wanted people there to know that people still cared about them and still had a, knew about what was going on over there, and it was very much in their hearts. Coincidentally, she didn't know that the teacher in the small village where she was taking all these cards had just told the children about Valentine's Day. So a little bit of synchronicity. So we'll take you on one of Judith Golden's Southeast Asian tours to the Tsunami Valentine's Day.
ก็ขอขอบคุณเพื่อนๆทุกท่านนะครับยังให้กำลังใจอยู่ด้วยกันตลอดไปนะครับก็ขอให้ทุกท่านจงประสบผลสำเร็จทุกอย่างนะครับที่แล้วมาให้มันแล้วไปครับเราเริ่มต้นชีวิตกันใหม่ได้ครับเพื่อรำลึกเพื่อนเราที่จากไปนะครับไม่ใช่ที่เกาะพีอย่างเดียวครับที่เขาหลักและอันดามันแล้วก็เพื่อนร่วมโลกทุกคนนะครับที่ได้สูญเสียไปครั้งนั้นนะครับอาทิตย์ยามเช้าต่อแสงเจิดจ้าบนแผ่นฟ้าก็ดูสดใสมองท้องทะเลกว้างไกลวันที่จากฉันไปไม่กลับมาความลังเมื่อฝูงนกแตกรังเต็มพื้นฟ้าสองเรายังไม่ทันได้รำลาเมื่อคลื่นยักษ์พัดพาเธอจากไปพี่ดอนก็พี่ยามนี้มีแต่ฉันเพียงลำพังพี่ดอนก็พี่ขอให้เธอสู่สุคตินิรันดร์คงมีแต่ความลังเมื่อฝูงนกแตกรังเต็มพื้นฟ้าสองเรายังไม่ทันได้รำลาเมื่อคลื่นยักษ์พัดพาเธอจากไปพี่ดอนก็พี่ยามนี้มีแต่ฉันเพียงลำพังพี่ดอนก็พี่ขอให้เธอสู่สุคตินิรันดร์อาทิตย์ยามเย็นชวนจะลับขอบฟ้าหมู่นกกาก็พากันบินไปยินเสียงคลื่นกระทบหาดทรายกระซิบไว้แทนคำอำลาอาทิตย์ยามเย็นชวนจะลับขอบฟ้าหมู่นกกาก็พากันบินไปยินเสียงคลื่นกระทบหาดทรายกระซิบไว้แทนคำอำลาครับก็ขอขอบคุณเพื่อนๆทุกท่านนะครับยังให้กำลังใจ อยู่ด้วยกันตลอดไปนะครับก็ขอให้ทุกท่านจงประสบผลสำเร็จทุกอย่างนะครับที่แล้วมาให้มันแล้วไปครับเราเริ่มต้นชีวิตกันใหม่ได้ครับเพื่อล้ำลึกเพื่อนเราที่จากไปนะครับไม่ใช่ที่เกาะพีพีอย่างเดียวครับที่เขาหลักแล้วอันดามันแล้วก็เพื่อนร่วมโลกทุกคนนะครับที่ได้สูญเสียไปครั้งนั้นนะครับอาทิตย์ยามเช้าต่อแสงเจิดจ้าบนแผ่นฟ้าก็ดูสดใสมองท้องทะเลกว้างไกลวันเธอจากฉันไปไม่กลับมาความลังเมื่อฝูงนกแตกรังเต็มพื้นฟ้าสองเรายังไม่ทันได้รำลาเมื่อคลื่นยักษ์พัดพาเธอจากไปพี่ดอนก็พี่ยามนี้มีแต่ฉันเพียงลำพังพี่ดอนก็พี่ขอให้เธอสู่สุคตินิรันดร์พี่คงมีแต่ความรักเมื่อฝูงนกแตกรังเต็มพื้นฟ้าสองเรายังไม่ทันได้รำลาเมื่อคลื่นยักษ์พัดพาเธอจากไปพี่ดอนก็พี่ยามนี้มีแต่ฉันเพียงลำพังพี่ดอนก็พี่ขอให้เธอสู่สุคตินิรันดร์อาทิตย์ยามเย็นชวนจะลับขอบฟ้าหมู่นกกาก็พากันบินไปยินเสียงคลื่นกระทบหาดทรายกระซิบไว้แทนคำอำลาอาทิตย์ยามเย็นชวนจะลับขอบฟ้าหมู่นกกาก็พากันบินไปยินเสียงคลื่นกระทบหาดทรายกระซิบไว้แทนคำอำลา
Hi, welcome back to Freedom TV. I'm here with Scott Howard, and we're talking about earthen building, which is building stuff out of stuff that comes out of the ground. Now, why do you think there's been sort of this resurgence of people wanting to move toward doing this kind of building? I mean, you see it a lot. I mean, I see these little structures popping up all over Portland. And I, as I understand it, it isn't just Portland that it's happening in. So what do you think makes people want to go back to this, besides them feeling good?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what it comes down to at this point. It's people looking for that connection with the earth. You know, why do people go out in their yards and garden?
Right.
It's not because it's cheaper to grow onions in your yard as it is to buy them.
No, it's definitely not.
It's definitely not, actually. No. But it's because there's a deeper connection with the earth, and you're having a chance to interact with your own source of food or your own source of shelter. And when you interact with your own house, when you don't have this mystique around your house and you have to call up the expert to come fix your house, you yourself know how to build each aspect of your house. You can change things as needed, and you can also make repairs as needed. You can also design it just how you want it and make your house reflect your vision of the cosmos, even down to where the windows are and what
Right.
you want to see out of each
Right.
window. So
Now, there's a group in Portland called Recode Portland. I don't know if you're familiar with them.
yes, I am.
And are they working on Cobb Building also? I know they're working on Greywater, but has Cobb Building sort of come on their radar yet? Because I'm sure that there are lots of people down at City Hall are going, well, I don't know. I don't quite know what to do with this.
There are a lot of people in the coding department that support what we're doing
Really? That's interesting.
currently, and they have it on the list. You know, they passed Greywater.
Yeah.
Greywater is now legal to do at your house, and Earth Bag Building and Cobb Building are both on the list.
Right. So,
So
it's,
we're gonna-
eventually it will happen. You know, they're sort of, it's on their radar, and they're not going spawn of hell.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
you
No.
know.
We've basically had the go-ahead to submit proposals,
Right.
and even Earthbag Building is actually in the codes in certain counties in
Really?
California. It's completely legal to build those structures down in California because of the work of Nader Khalili. He proved using very expensive testing and equipment
Right.
that
Thank goodness for these people.
Earthbag structures are actually stronger than almost any structures you see.
Really?
It maxed out the equipment. Earthbag domes can survive 9.5 earthquakes.
Whoa. That's pretty good. Okay, we're all going to go into earthen domes tomorrow.
Yeah.
This sounds pretty good.
I hope so.
Everyone in California should anyway.
Yeah.
Well, that's really great. That's exciting stuff to happen even. And so here in Oregon, we're kind of going along with the program, and hopefully we'll see more and more of the earth type buildings. Now, who are the people who are building this? Is it a particular age bracket or an economic group of people who are actually saying, well, yeah, let's build this?
Not really. It seems to be a lot of people call me and ask me, can I build one of these in my backyard? And they might be, somebody who's 20 or somebody who's 90, It's
Really?
somebody who's
That's incredible.
interested in earth building, who learned about it, because not everyone knows about it yet.
Yeah.
Usually those people learned about it somehow, and they realized that it's something that could be really fun for them to do, and also, add value to their property and
Right.
add beauty to their property.
And there's something just very, I don't know, organic about them. They're just really kind of very good looking buildings that feel just more comfortable. I don't know. Now, you said you also offer some workshops, don't you? In
It's true.
actually doing this kind of stuff.
It's
So-
true. I've been teaching workshops a long time, and this year is the first year I decided to offer a start-to-finish workshop series.
Oh,
so
okay.
There are 4 workshops in my series, starting from the ground up, so foundations, and then walls, and then roof and fireplace.
So you can learn the whole.
plasters.
Really?
And
Excellent.
if you go to my website, you can find out about each one of those workshops and
Now,
sign
how
up.
long are the workshops? Are they like day workshops or week workshops or?
Each one is a weekend, but
Okay.
some of them are 4 days, and some of them are 2 days.
And then you actually literally get your hands dirty and participate in building
Yeah,
the
they're
actual
primarily
structures.
hands-on, because I want people who take the entire series to come away with enough knowledge they can actually go forward and build their own structure.
And build their own structure. That's amazing. So you can come away with in just a couple sessions like this with actually understanding it. Now you've got a poster
Yeah.
here which I think is really kind
So I
of
just wanted to show you this because
yeah. Oh, you've
probably
got a lot
few
of them going.
people,
My gosh, 4 of them.
have seen this poster up around town.
Yeah. Excellent. And it's actually got some pictures which are really cool down here at the bottom of what you're going to be actually doing.
Yeah.
And so it's May, June, and July. So you get foundations, walls, windows, and lofts, earthen fireplaces. Oh, I want a fireplace. Echo roofs and earthen floors. Now, tell me a little bit about the echo roofs. Now, how do these work out on the earthen buildings? The earthen roofs seem really heavy.
Yeah, everyone wants to know about eco roofs. It just seems that they've really come into popularity, especially in Portland, but really all over. People realize, we can have better use of our roof spaces if
Right.
we grow plants up there. And they are a bit heavier, but they also offer a good deal of insulation for your
Right.
building. They're quite durable. It uses a thin rubber membrane pond liner type material.
Right.
And that material can last 60, 80 years.
Right.
So,
Now, what do they use for the structural support
well,
for the earthen roofs?
I'm actually building 2 small earth bag and cob hybrid structures right now. One of them is using roundwood rafters for the roof, a living
Roundwood.
roof.
What's
yeah,
that?
that's a tree that I've gotten and taken
Oh,
the
okay.
bark
So
off of.
it's basically a pole.
Yeah, just a
Okay.
pole structure, and the other one is using dimensional lumber. So you can do it either way. But yeah, you have to plan carefully to make sure that your roof is going to be strong enough to hold up.
Nothing
all
like
the
having a
weight.
bunch of dirt in your living room. It just, wouldn't be a really good idea. So you can do the floor.
Mm-hmm.
So you can do the floor and then the walls and the roof. So you basically have a house out of dirt, a dirt house.
People always say dirt, but really it's clay.
It's clay.
because not
Okay.
all dirt is clay.
Okay, now I'm going to ask the obvious here. What about cleaning? Let's, all right, look, you're not going to wash these walls down, are you?
Well, people always wonder about that, but really, like I was explaining before, you make an earthen floor, for example, and you layer many layers of linseed oil.
Right.
That's what the first linoleum was made out of,
Right.
linseed oil, and the beeswax, and you can mop that floor.
Right.
You don't want to hit the floor with a sharp leg of a chair or something
Yeah.
like that, but it will last a really long time. It's very easy to repair if you were to hit it with a sharp metal
yeah.
object or something.
Oh, like
but
drop a frying pan. I would never do that, but other people might.
but people love it because of the feel of it, you
Yeah.
know. And there are really expensive houses going up in Hollywood, California, or wherever that are getting earthen floors now
That's
because it feels really nice, especially on bare feet. And yeah,
Oh.
so you can make the inside of your house completely clean.
Now, can you
and-
paint this? Can you use paint on
Yeah,
it?
we can use earth paints, and
So
earth paints will have.
There's special paints for
Yeah.
like earthen buildings. Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to take another short break, and then when we come back, you will have an opportunity to ask Scott some questions. If you have, I'm sure you have some about that I didn't ask, and we'll find out a bit more about this because I'm interested in the floors. I like the floors, and I want to learn more about those. But right now, we're going to go to a little short. It's kind of a comedy short, and it's called Tobacco Deals. This is all about some of the backdoor things you may not consider about how the government has a hand in what the tobacco companies do. So this is Tobacco Deals.
In the 1990s, state attorneys general launched massive, unprecedented lawsuits against major tobacco companies. The claim was that the tobacco companies had to pay the costs of treating sick smokers. The Tobacco Master Settlement Agreement was signed in November 1998 by 46 state attorneys general and major tobacco companies. 4 states reached separate settlement agreements. The deal might have gone down like this.
You tobacco companies are crooks and killers, and I'm gonna put you out of business.
Can't we settle this?
It'll cost you.
How much?
Well, with 46 states, how about 300 billion?
26 states. How about 250 billion?
You got yourself a deal.
But where am I going to get the money?
Well, you raise your prices, and I'll take a big chunk out of every dollar you make.
Okay, like that, but you've got to protect us from low-price competitors.
Why not? You make money for me, I'll take care of you. It's a win-win for both of us.
But what you guys going to do with the money?
Oh, it'll go for 6 smokers, unless I can think of something else to do with it.
I like that. You realize with less competition, higher prices, smokers, our customers, are going to get screwed.
They're smokers. They deserve to get screwed.
But, you know, is it constitutional?
Hey, for $250 billion, we can screw the Constitution too.
I like that. I like that. I think we have ourselves a deal.
The tobacco settlement is unconstitutional. Article 1, Section 10 of the U.S. Constitution prohibits states from entering into agreements with one another without Congress's consent. Congress never voted on the 46-state tobacco deal. The tobacco settlement imposed a $246 billion hidden tax on smokers. Only 3 to 6% of the settlement money has gone to tobacco control and smoking cessation programs.
Happy anniversary, big tobacco deal.
Since the tobacco settlement was signed, states have taken billions of dollars in settlement money and higher taxes. Most of the money was spent on programs having nothing to do with smoking or health care. For more information, go to cei.org/tobacco.
Hi, welcome back. And we're here with Scott. And now you have an opportunity to call in if you'd like to and ask Scott any questions. But I also wanted to talk to you a little bit more about foundations. It's important for me. Foundations are really a big thing. What about, I mean, some of these buildings, like if you go up 2 or 3 stories, what kind of a foundation do they have? Do you just tamp down the earth and start building, or how does this work?
Well, obviously you need to build on something that's really solid. Usually you can't just set your building right on top of clay, because clay swells and expands and your walls will crack.
Yeah.
So what I use is a rubble trench foundation.
Oh, okay.
So that's digging down below the frost line, filling the trench with a drainage system so that water going down in that trench will go away from your building, and filling it with gravel, angular gravel, tamping it down very hard so it becomes tightly compacted.
Right.
And then you can begin adding actually courses of earth bags filled with gravel. It's a great technique. And you can
Right.
build even underground rooms with that technique as
Really?
well.
So you could have like a basement?
Yeah.
Really? So you could start below and then build. Would you have would the earth bags be like the walls of the basement, and then you just keep going up?
Yes.
Wow. So you could build a whole. Could you go down a couple of floors?
You know, it would probably require you to do some study there about how the water table is interacting.
Oh yeah, that might be a problem
it
here
depends,
in
because a
Portland.
lot of Portland basements flood.
Yeah.
Everyone
Oh,
knows that.
a lot
So
of
you'd have to
Portland
kind of
basements
study
flood.
that.
Yep.
One technique that I'm using these days is bentonite clay. It's a
Oh,
great
okay.
way to seal a basement. So you can use bentonite clay on
Excellent.
the outside of your
Excellent.
foundation.
And I think we have a question. Oh no, we had a phone call. They went
okay.
away. Oh,
Oh,
no,
okay.
I'm sorry.
Call again.
Call again. Call back. So, and I've heard of bentonite clay. It's what they line ponds with and stuff to keep
Correct.
the water in the ponds until it gets silted up, and it can, act like a pond instead of just absorbing into the woodwork and going away. So, and that acts as a good sealer.
It does.
The bentonite
Yeah.
clay. That's amazing. Where does bentonite clay come from? Do you know?
I heard that they have it in Benton County.
Benton County. Bentonite clay.
It comes
Okay.
out of the ground like all clay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a particular kind of clay that just expands a lot with the presence of water. So
Right.
because it expands so much and absorbs water, it creates a waterproof layer
Excellent.
as water becomes present.
Excellent. I know they use some bentonite clay in like kitty litter.
Really?
Yeah, there's some of the kitty litter has bentonite clay in it, which in it absorbs water, absorbs a lot of water. So
There you
that
go.
would great for kitty litter.
Good for lots of
Yeah.
things. Yeah, people drink it.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know.
Use it for cleansing, I think. I don't know.
Now I think we do have a caller. Do you have a question for Scott?
Well, I have an idea and a thought and a comment. Instead of our government separating itself from the people and bailing out AIG and the other banks and bailing out, now they want to bail out the stock market.
But did you have a question for Scott?
Well, yes, and a comment. If they were to take that money and put solar panels on all the roofs in Oregon and put up the windmills, the power those windmills that you see going up Interstate 84 every summer, and take down the dam so the salmon can come back. It takes us off the grid.
Well,
which is
I
under
can
their
appreciate
control.
what you're saying. However, we've got other people who are calling in and they
Okay.
wanted to ask Scott some questions. And my personal feeling is, yeah, it would be a good idea to do that. However, I would just rather they give it back to all of us and we can decide what we want to do with our own money. Okay? Oh, and we do have another caller. Thanks very much. Do you have a question for Scott?
Yes, I was wondering how you go about plumbing a Cobb home.
Oh, that's a fine
Plumbing it,
question.
yeah.
Yeah, everyone always wants to know. And really, it's so simple because as you're building the foundation, you just need to put a piece of tubing of some kind, any kind really. It could be a piece of metal or PVC, something you find laying around. You can put that into your foundation. The tubing needs to be a bigger diameter than whatever pipes or electrical you want to put through that tubing. So you build that in there, you put some caps on the tubing, and once you complete the structure, you can take the caps off of the tubing and run your lines through that into your building and up through the floor.
So it's actually a casing of whatever tubing you use, and then the electrical and stuff goes up through that.
Yeah, you
That's
just
amazing.
need to run a little hole right through the wall and then
Oh, that's great. Oh, cool.
run your lines in.
That's a good question. I wouldn't
Yeah.
even thought about that. You think of an earthen building, well, maybe we don't need any electric lights. No, I think so. I'm sorry.
Most people want that, yeah.
You know, I lived in the cabin in the forest, and trust me, it's not what it's cracked up to be. It's really not all that much fun. For about 6 months, it's good. Then it starts to get wear on you a little bit. But it's neat to know that you can do that with the... Now, could you do also something like the passive, what's it called, heat transfer? Like they've got at People's Food Co-op, where they have like a
Right.
floor like that,
Yeah.
and it's
Radiant floor,
Radiant
I think
floor.
you're talking about.
Yeah, radiant floor.
Yeah, and there are people in town that are building radiant floors using earthen floor techniques.
Wow.
So combining the radiant floor tubing, which runs heated water through your floor, and then it heats the mass of your floor. But in general, cob houses, earthen houses, especially those that have earthen floors, are passive solar designed. So you offer
right.
large windows on the south side of the building, and that allows the sun to actually heat up your floor, and the mass of your floor
Will
heats
heat up
your house
the rest of the
through
house.
the night.
Excellent. And I think we've got another caller for Scott.
Yes, I was interested in, you talked about codes, and I was wondering what are the current codes? What do they allow as far as size of houses? It sounds like you've had people where you've built sheds and that, but I was wondering what are the largest sizes that are allowable?
That's the most common question I get these days, and it just shows that everyone's thinking about that, and people are interested in building these things. And the truth is that we can build 200 square foot structures in our yards, in residentially zoned properties in Portland, without getting permits and without meeting the building codes, which require us to use wood and
So you could
prefab
build a
materials.
shed, a 200 square foot shed, without the building codes. Oh my gosh, this is a good one. I love this.
And that's what people are doing.
Okay, I think we have time for one more question. Yes? Do you have a question?
Hi, I'm very interested in hearing about the stoves, the ovens that you can build in your backyard, and really what's involved with that process, and how does that hold up in, Portland, Oregon with the rain and that kind of thing.
Great question. Yeah, building a cob oven in your backyard is a great place to start with this material. Doing a smaller project will be very rewarding. And I suggest that maybe you build a small roof structure for that, because the best way to keep cob from deteriorating in the rain is just to cover it with a roof. You can build the roof first or second, but definitely want to plan a roof in there. And I love showing people how to build cob ovens because it's really fun and simple, and you can complete one in just a few days.
And is it sort of like the cob oven? Is it sort of like a pizza oven idea where you put a fire underneath it and it heats up this dome area?
In a lot of ovens, what you do is you actually put a fire inside of the oven.
Oh, really?
The oven heats up. The mass of the oven absorbs all that heat. Then you take the fire out and you sweep it out, and the heat is still there. You put your baked goods in there,
Really?
close the door, and it bakes them.
Oh, cool.
Some ovens are large enough in diameter that you have a little fire going off to the side with some bricks separating your fire and your baked goods.
That's amazing.
And even others do have other designs where the fire's underneath.
So it's like almost like passive baking. Your heat is stored heat that's coming out to bake your food. That's amazing. And how hot do the ovens get? Do you know?
Oh, I think you can get one up to maybe 1,000 degrees.
1,000 degrees?
Yeah. If you really try.
I don't bake anything at that temperature, but but you could, if you could get it that hot, you could. Well, no, I think the firing of clays and things is a little bit hotter than that. But 1,000 degrees, that's pretty warm. So you could.
They do have wood-fired kilns also, which get hotter than that. Yeah.
That's amazing. Oh gosh. So you can do everything from the floor to the oven to chimneys. Have you done any of the human manure composting toilets? You done any of those?
Yeah, I've done some of that.
Really?
I've seen that done. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So that I saw, the reason I thought of this is I saw one that was made out of cob structure, and I thought, well, that'd be perfect. You could put that out in the backyard.
There you go. Yeah.
Well, we're just about close to coming out of time. Doesn't look like we are, actually. It looks like we have 5 minutes.
Oh, 5 minutes.
No, looks like one's 5 and one isn't. Okay. Well, it looks like we've got just about 3/4 of a minute, and I just wanted to ask you, real quickly, what do you have planned for the future? What do you see yourself doing in, say, 5 years?
Well, let me just say right now that I have planned for the immediate future actually another workshop besides the workshop that's happening in Portland. I'm going to lead a group of people to Mali in West Africa.
Okay.
Next January 2010.
Oh my God.
And we will be completing a 15-foot tall earth bag dome to be covered with cob plaster.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it, and thanks for sharing with us what you do best.
Thank you so much for having me.
And we will see you next week, and we're going to be traveling to Slovakia next week with a special group of people who are going to be going there on mission. So until then, it's your voice. Please keep using it.
I cry for my country, for the pain that it's been through. She's been made to suffer for the profit of a few. Storm clouds are forming, winds of change now touch our shores. Our hear forefathers are crying as the dream's been cruised. America, I show my love for thee with strength and loyalty. America.